Hi, this is Bruce Mufson, LCSW, coming at you with another video breakdown from SUNRIDGE, Nevada. For those of you new to the channel, I want to explain what the purpose of our channel is. We want to give you information so you have a better understanding about mental health issues. As for my background, I graduated from the University of Georgia with a master's in social work. I then had to do a 2-year internship to be able to take a national exam to become a licensed clinical social worker. I have done inpatient work at a hospital as well as doing outpatient work where I saw people in their homes. I have also assessed people in prison and detention facilities and have testified hundreds of times in court to explain and clarify mental health issues to a judge, assistant district attorney, and public defender regarding adolescents and adults. I have also done extensive public speaking, mostly to law enforcement, on understanding mental health issues with the mentally ill. And to maintain my license, I have to take 36 hours of classes every 2 years to maintain my license. Tonight's song, Kendrick Lamar, once again, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And the song that I broke down is Savior. And what I want to, Savior Interlude, I'm sorry. And what I'm going to do again is that I'm going to break down only the parts that I think are clinically relevant, and I'm going to let you know where I'm coming from so you can follow along with the song. Here we go. All right. The intro, you hear Eckhart Tolle, which is the, I would say, counselor that Kendrick Lamar has been using the last several years and getting information from. He does the intro and he does this. If you derive your sense of identity from being a victim, okay, let's say bad things were done to you when you were a child, and you develop a sense of self that is based on the bad things that happened to you. This is a very, very common theme in therapy. One second. And I get this a lot. My childhood was rough, it was terrible, it was horrible. And I look at my future and I see nothing to look forward to, and the only thing that's going to happen, it's going to be bad. When you work with people like this, what happens is that they get a sense of, they have a hard time following the middle path. Everything is excess, up and down. It's like being on a roller coaster. And the reason why they do things to excess is they never got the skills that they needed to learn socially and emotionally how to go through life calmly. And I see this a lot with people that come from family backgrounds, a lot of dysfunction and a lot of PTSD. So I get the part about the victim. All right, now, verse. This is, Baby Keem was the one that, did the words on this. And I want to go down on the verse a little further down. And it goes right off the bat. You ever seen your mama strung out while you studied division? Your uncle ever stole from you day after Christmas? See both of those in the county jail visits, the 1st and the 15th, the only religion. And then he throws in one more line about the noodles in the microwave and what it's like, the tidal wave. I totally understand and I totally get where he's coming from, because these are the kind of people, when I said I did outpatient work visiting people in their homes, this is what I experienced. Just a couple of examples. Several times I've gone into homes where who did I rely on? Not the mother, not the father, who was non-existent. I relied on, quote, quote, the uncle with quotation marks, and a 10-year-old girl to give me insight. Can I speak to your brother? Can I speak to your mother? What's going on in the home? And these children are parentified and they're acting like an adult. I've had kids tell me when I asked them questions about abuse and neglect, they said to me, one kid I remember saying to me, my stepdad said to me, if I told my mom about the abuse I was enduring, he was going to pour bleach into my fish tank and kill all of my fish that I loved. Third time, I've had people that were so severely mentally ill, the parents, generally the mom, for various reasons, usually suffering from schizophrenia, bipolar, PTSD, drug and alcohol abuse. I'm like, who's in charge here? Not the parent. I don't see any father. It might be, quote, quote, again with quotes, the uncle, but there's no stability. And these kids are forced to grow up way faster than they're supposed to. Now, as for the comment that he made, where he said, see both of them in the county jail visits, the 1st and the 15th, the only religion. When you're living in the system and you're living with the crumbs that the government gives at you, 1st of the month is SSI. 1st of the month is your welfare check. 1st of the month is to see if your Medicaid is still good. and on the 15th. So you know those dates. It's almost like a tattoo on your arm. 1st and the 15th, you know what's coming. It's just barely enough to live by. And that's the thing I hate about working with people in that situation is you get sucked into that. And that when he says religion, the only religion, oh, I understood what he was talking about because that's what happens. And when you tell people about why don't you try and get yourself out of this system, this is all they know. This is almost generational. And I saw that hundreds of times, particularly when I made my home visits, how people lived. So it's a great line, one after the other, and how he really clarifies things. He's right. And this is what happens when you're getting government aid. You're relying on the EBT card, example after example. Then he goes like this. A little further down, he goes, this year I did 43 shows and took it all home to buy him a casket. Yeah, my uncle. And this is what happens also when kids that come into money, where, become an artist like he is, and, you think you're doing show after show after show. The money's rolling in. Everything is great. And then you get a call. Your uncle was shot to death. Your uncle killed himself. Your uncle died of an overdose. And you go back home and the money that you made, you're paying for a casket. So in a way, you don't really leave the life you think you left behind. It's still there. It's still part of you. It's still an essence of who you are. And we've had other people talk about that. And that happens a lot in therapy too. I thought. I didn't get as far away as I thought I did. Okay, now I just want to go again with the verse and a little further down. He goes, I only had one chance. I ain't even waste it. Been down on my luck, when I fall. I got to get up, I got to get back and be all. Oh, I got those lines. Yeah, what he's saying is pretty honest. He goes, where I grew up from, if you weren't going to be a success the first time and held on to that rung, held on to that rope, you're done. Because if you fall, you're not going to get back up. You're stuck. And that's a scary thing to live life. But when you don't have any other options, either you put it all together or you don't leave your neighborhood. You don't leave the craziness. You don't leave the dysfunction. You don't leave the terror and the trauma. This is a great song. I really like this song because I related to this song. I know sometimes people say, we get these comments, how do you understand these musicians? How do you relate to them? More than you think. Because I've lived this in my own career, and I've seen this hundreds, if not thousands of times, what poverty, what trauma, what PTSD, what drug and alcohol abuse will do to you. I like the fact that it almost came across like a poetry rhythm, and he used the violin very, very effectively here, which shows, again, the creativity of these musicians, which never fails to amaze me. But here's the point also I want to clarify. This is what happens when you grow up with trauma and dysfunction. This is why I stress so much to parents about creating a healthy, normal foundation, and then giving the kids what they need to grow to become successful. It's so much easier when you do this when they're young, because when they get older, it's a lot harder to cram this kind of information in because you've already made so many mistakes and you've been somewhat self-destructive in how you look at your life. And what happens is you don't learn life's lessons. And what happens also is this, I see this a ton of times too, you define your success by excess. Not about just like being calm and low key. It's the outward experience that you use with the cars, the women, the jewelry, okay, the money. What does it do? It gives you validation and respect. That's what you think. And it kind of like you wear it as almost like body armor. And this way you're able to avoid yourself being seen as vulnerable and like everybody else out there that's trying to come across with self-identity and to understand who you are and who you want to be. He sings to me in a rage and in anger and frustration. Hear me, hear me. Listen to where I've been and what I've been through. It's like a cry for help to a certain extent. In conclusion, the goal in counseling and working with people who come from this kind of background is to get real, be cold about it, to be honest, and accept and say, you know what, your life was miserable. You didn't get what you needed. You didn't get what you needed from your parents. You didn't have a father in your life, and you grew up stunted. You didn't know what direction to go in. So you're almost a given you're going to make mistakes. But what I tell people is that you're finally meeting somebody like me that's being real, that's being honest, that's being truthful, that's telling you the truth. Accept the past, miserable, terrible, don't have to sugarcoat it and pretend. But now that you know this, what are you going to do to have a better life that's going to give you what you deserve? Happiness and mental stability. Do me a favor, please comment. I love the comments, and let me know, for those out there, when did you realize this about yourself, and what have you done to make the change to be successful going forward? Bruce Mufson, LCSW, Sunridge, Nevada.